I'm Dr. Colin Bartoe with the Functional Neurology Chiropractic Center, and here today with us is Phil Dubois with Workplace Screening Intelligence. Phil is a testing specialist. He works with drug testing and now COVID testing. So today I wanted to have a little conversation about what COVID means for both of us and our businesses. So welcome, Phil. How you doing, man?
Thank you, Dr. Bartoe. I'm doing fantastic, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you today.
Yeah, this is a conversation that we started having the other day. I've actually referred a couple people over to Phil to get some different testing related to COVID, and I was kind of curious. Could you tell us a little bit more about what COVID testing is like for you? How does that work for you? What is going on in the
Sure.
culture and the community?
Absolutely. Well, there's several different types of COVID, and it wasn't just COVID testing, and it wasn't just a few months ago where it was literally impossible to get a test for COVID done. The only thing that was available was the antibody test, and the antibody tests themselves are not perfect, but they were the only tool that was available to the general public to get a test. You either had to be dying or know a senator in order to get a COVID test a few months ago. But now
Or
that's
be on a
changed.
pro ball team, right?
Pro ball team, that works too. Yeah, absolutely. Or a college team. But finally, the supply has met the demand, and now you can pretty much get a COVID test somewhat easier. You might have to wait for 2 or 3 hours in a urgent care center, but you can get one relatively easily now compared to 2 or 3 months ago. So there
what are
is
the differences?
Sure, several different types of tests. So the antibody test tests for that is two different types. It's a lab-based test that you can order, or you can do a POCT. And POCT is point of care testing. That means it's done at the location where it's collected. And typically that means you're going to get the results back as quick as 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, so
awesome.
The antibody POCT 15-minute test, 10 to 15-minute test. It's going to tell you whether you've been recently infected or if you've had past exposure. So that test is going to be a hot commodity once the vaccines come out, because everybody's going to want to know, did it work? Am I part of that 90 to 94% effectiveness? And did I get the antibodies? So that is a test you're going to take. We'll be testing for IgG, and we'll be able to take care of it. There's also a lab-based one that does IgM, IgG, and IgA. And so IgM is recent infection, IgA is more recent infection, and then the IgG is past exposure. So those are available, but the newest, latest, and greatest hot test to come out, this one was just recently authorized by the FDA. This is a COVID-19 antigen test. I'm not sure if people can see it on here.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. And that test is, it's made in the USA, and it's also been authorized by the FDA, which is important because once something has an FDA authorization, that means that the FDA has looked at the clinical studies and the federal government has done studies on it itself, not taken anybody's word for it. They've actually done studies, and that means that they have met the 90% plus criteria. Okay, so, and some of these tests are 90, cool. Some are 96, some are 93, but if you're 90% plus, that's a pretty good threshold to meet, saying that the product works as it's intended.
Nice. So Phil, question for you. Can we get a little bit more into the differences between antibody testing and testing to see if you have an active infection?
Absolutely. So the antibody test that we talked about, recent infection and past exposure, the antigen test, the one I just showed you, that is for current infection. When you do that test, within 10 to 15 minutes after the test starts, you're going to know if the person being tested is currently infected or not with COVID. With one side note, it can take as soon as 1 day an antigen test and as long as 5 days an antigen test to be able to be strong enough to show up on the test. Okay, so if you were infected last night, it's likely you're not going to test positive the next morning. It's virtually impossible on a PCR test. They've only documented day 2 to day 5. So it's important to wait the right amount of time in order to make sure that the antigen has had a chance to manifest itself in your body.
So
So
what you're saying is if you've been infected or you think you've been infected, you were, you're hanging out with family and somebody said, hey, I tested positive, right? So you were around somebody. It's good to make sure you wait those 2 days, at least to see
yeah,
if you show up.
right, exactly. And the
Okay.
only other way to resolve it is just to test yourself again in a few days, just to
Mhm.
be sure. And then, most people, that's just human nature. They want to know, and they want to know now. And so we explain to every single person that's negative, this only takes care of the last 5 days. It just doesn't mean what happened last night. Doesn't mean what happened the night before. If your body takes that long to create them, so.
Man. So then why, are we still doing the testing that takes, days to weeks to find
Sure,
out?
sure. So, for example, the PCR test. Now that's a molecular test, okay, and I have a lab that gets 98% of the results back the following evening, and then we 2 or 3% come back the day after that. So it comes back within 2 days. That's very, very good turnaround time. Nope, not
Mhm.
many people can match it. We pay extra to have it done, but that test is mainly used for people that are traveling that have these 72-hour deadlines. I mean, we're moving heaven and hell to get that back to them on time so that they can
Mhm.
report it and get approval to go to the Bahamas or to Puerto Rico or the other places that are requiring it.
Mhm.
Other countries such as Honduras, Guatemala, they're accepting the antigen or the PCR test. So it's pretty simple. You come in, you get tested, you get the antigen result back, they upload it, and they're on their way. Now you can, literally book a flight and get a test the same day and be done with it. So those are the differences. But the PCR is the molecular fingerprint. It is the one test that tells you beyond a shadow of a doubt, if it was collected properly, it tells you beyond a shadow of a doubt that it is positive or it is negative,
Okay.
excluding that 0 to 2 days that we talked about. You still have to let it manifest enough
Mhm.
to be able to do that.
That's pretty cool, man. I know that getting tested and knowing is very, very important right now. I myself had COVID a few weeks back. It's been about a month now, but it's one of those things where I didn't know until I got tested. I felt kind of off, and when I got that test, um, you know, I did the nasal swab. I think it was the PCR. They went ahead, swabbed it. Within an hour, I had a result, and it was like, "Hey, you're positive." And so then the journey began for me of going through the symptoms, and I waited the full 2 weeks before getting retested just to make sure I didn't, risk any of my patients or any of my colleagues or friends. But for me, from my side of things, it's the interesting aspect of COVID is more the aftermath. Um, you know
Yes.
everybody's different, of course, and it's going to be one of those things where we're used to seeing the flu has a certain set of symptoms, or you've got a cold and it's a certain set of symptoms, but now for COVID everybody's getting different things, and most people are having residuals after the fact. For instance, myself, I have brain fog and headaches and memory trouble. It's actually kind of increased my concussion symptoms that I used to have, kind of brought them back and made them even more prevalent. Um, or I'm struggling with depression and memory trouble and focus issues. And so, I think we've got a really awesome opportunity here where, people coming out of COVID, they obviously need testing as soon as they're exposed, as soon as they have symptoms, and to follow up and make sure they're negative again. But then it comes on to my practice and my colleagues and I to help support people in recovering from these different brain effects.
Right. There's no doubt. And I can tell you, I hear from testing people all the time.
Mhm.
They call up and, after the service and, tell us thank you and helping them get through it, giving them another
Mhm.
test if they care to do that, to know they're negative.
Yeah.
And, they're, everybody says, every single person says, except for the asymptomatic ones, that it still affects them. And,
Mhm.
I had two personal experiences. My son got it from his baseball team.
Mhm.
And other than just being a little bit lethargic and losing his uh, taste for one day, no symptoms at all. And
Mhm.
my mom, who has been pretty much a stay-at-home person for the last 9 months. Went to church and got COVID at church, and it put her in the hospital twice. And she went from a vibrant 86-year-old lady to she when she walks, she shuffles a little bit. So
Mm.
it is
So
definitely,
balance issue.
yeah. I believe so. Yeah, I believe so.
Hmm.
So I think we're going to get her over to see you and let you work some magic with her. And
That would be lovely.
yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and it's
So
not
thank
even just the older people that get the balance disorder aspects. My partner, the day, it was really interesting. The day we went and tested negative again was the day that she started feeling dizzy, and she's been having episodes of dizziness off and on since then. We've been able to work with her and reduce that and give her some tools to help improve it. But it was just really strange how even on a day where we tested negative, more symptoms were showing up. So definitely want to make sure that everybody out there gets tested. If you're having any kind of residuals, give us a call over at the Functional Neurology Chiropractic Center, or talk to your local physician, and really build that team to make sure, because these effects can last. And there's more research coming out now that's showing there's risks for higher levels of dementia later on and other things like that. So making sure that we take care of the brain, making sure we take care of the body are vastly important. Cool.
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree. And I'll tell you the one thing about COVID, it is an equal opportunity offender, and it is definitely discriminatory. Some people
Hmm.
hardly have any symptoms, and
Hmm.
some people are just decimated by it. So
Yep.
it's it's serious, and do what you got to do to protect yourself.
Awesome. Well, Phil, thank you so much. I want to keep this nice and short for today, but I really appreciate you taking the time to share with us more about testing. If anybody out there needs to get testing in the Central Florida area, Phil Dubois and Workplace Screening Intelligence, there's the COVID brain for you, is a great resource. Phil, if you could give your contact information here for anybody who needs you.
Sure. You can always find us at www.workplacescreening.com. We answer emails at info@workplacescreening.com, and then you can call us directly at 800-338-5515. And I just
Awesome.
wanted to say, Colin, I am very excited about getting my mom over there, because I mean, it has just really thrown her for a loop. Like I said, she used to walk 2 miles a day, and now she's shuffling. So I'm looking forward to see what you can do for her, and I think it'll be a great
Uh,
thing to do. See how we can
Absolutely,
help.
buddy. It'd be an honor to serve your family again.
Thank you. You're
All right,
most
brother.
welcome.
You have a great day. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. You as well. Thank you.
All right.